Yeah. Hope y'all are having a great weekend insofar. Welcome, welcome. God bless you. Shabbat shalom and all that. Before we get started, let me just confirm that we've got audio and video live and streaming. Right. The ads definitely have audio, and here we go. So we're definitely going now. So yeah, welcome everybody. Hope y'all are doing well. I am John Themorgile, and today we're going to be just talking about some current events surrounding this news with Russell Brand, Fiber Oats. Good morning, Fiber Oats. You're probably the healthiest YouTube avatar name I've ever seen, for sure. One of the healthiest. So one of the first things I want to mention is I definitely want to get y'all's feedback on what you guys think. So definitely I can see the chat stream by as we go, and I've got it on my computer over here, so I don't have to rely on my phone. Fiber Oat says regular. Yeah. Raja Mac, good morning. Hope y'all are doing very well. So wow, man, what a crazy thing to be going through with Russell Brand. I mean, I kind of personally thought we were done with most of the allegations, you know, going back in history with like Bill Cosby and with the Me Too movement, right, which is now a few years old. By the way, as I mentioned before, Bill Cosby is actually a free man right now this day. Bill Cosby's up walking around because his conviction was overturned due to what I guess you could call it a technicality, but again, we're talking about Bill Cosby here, not Russell Brand, but Bill Cosby's conviction was overturned because basically a previous prosecutor, not the one that won and got him sentenced, but another guy, a different prosecutor altogether in the past, he guaranteed Bill Cosby immunity for a specific woman who was bringing forth charges. What's up, Half Tater, D-Rec, Brian Hawk? Good morning. And so that previous prosecutor gave Bill Cosby immunity, meaning they wouldn't prosecute him and he wouldn't get into any trouble for one specific accuser. And I'm not sure exactly why they gave him immunity, but usually it's because either you are forthcoming with information, you're cooperating, and the lawyers will work out a deal to where you can't be tried for that person's allegations. And so on appeal, Bill Cosby's attorneys, you know, while he was sitting in prison, got the whole thing overturned because of that, because the second prosecutor actually did try Bill Cosby for that woman and got a conviction on it. And basically his reasoning was that he didn't make the agreement. That was another guy altogether. And so he was perfectly fine to go ahead and try Bill Cosby for that woman. So anyway, because of that second attorney, the prosecutor, like going against the words of the first one, like breaking that deal and being, I guess you could say, kind of like cowboyish or Wild Westish on the whole thing, it got the entire conviction overturned, and now Bill Cosby's a free man. Fiber Oat says Brand's a total shill. JP reacts to Jimmy Dore. Could be a demons. Yeah. Well, so there's a lot of people, and I'm just reading comments. There are a lot of people think Russell Brand is a shill. I don't know, man. He has been speaking a lot of truth to power. He's been really putting out a lot of good information, exposing a lot of the like Agenda 2030 stuff. Brian Hawk says shill ? So yeah. So a shill would be like somebody that's paid by the government to have certain opinions online, you know, not that they're necessarily their opinions, but they are supporting a narrative for money. And I don't think that's the case at all with Russell Brand. There's a lot of people who are saying things like the whole thing's a humiliation ritual. I don't know, man. It doesn't seem to me that Russell Brand is a shill or any of that. I was sort of suspecting, so this whole thing kind of hit me hard because I was suspecting sort of like any day now Russell Brand was going to come out as a flat earther, right? And I don't know that he is a flat earther. I really don't, but I just kind of suspected it, right? Because of certain things that he said and certain positions that he would have. It just seemed to me like he knew about this, and it is a difficult thing for high profile people to come out of the closet, as it were, as a flat earther. I mean, really, I don't know which would be worse, right? Coming out of the closet in the 1980s in the other sense, or coming out of the closet as a flat earther in the, the 2020s, right? Which is worse? I don't know. So the first thing, I've got some notes over here. So all of his accusers are anonymous, right? And that right there, it makes it really difficult to get behind those people, so to speak, right? Because if you're able to look an accuser in the eye and see their body language, and if they've got fake tears or real tears, that can be a good indicator. So there's that aspect of it, which makes it, it makes it difficult to get behind them as from like a human perspective, right? So you can't relate to words typed in a report, right? You can't relate to that on a human level. And let me just be the first to say, anybody that is like a sexual predator or does the R word, that person should be punished. I mean, that's obviously a terrible crime against usually a woman, but also it can be against men. The R word also does go underreported because it's a private thing, right? I mean, people don't really want to be talking about that sort of thing publicly, even when it's totally consensual. So I guess I can sort of understand the argument that's like, well, people are embarrassed to come forward. Now, my response to that, though, like if I was ever sexually assaulted, which I never have been, thank God, but if I was ever sexually assaulted, I would find it very difficult not to come forward, right? Because that's a crime. Clearly, you would be in fear of your life, I would imagine, right? Like if you're actually being assaulted like that, I would imagine that you're really afraid of your life. Otherwise, you wouldn't capitulate with that sort of thing or comply, right? You'd fight back. And so if you get away from that, you're getting away with your life. I mean, really, you would think the first place that somebody would go would be to the police. I mean, and really, I'm not one to say run to the police for every little thing. I'm really not. But this is like sort of the one instance where it would be prudent and sensible, and I could even understand calling the police if you were assaulted like that. D-Rex says he seems to get less ridicule from peers by expressing his globular skepticism. I guess you mean anymore? Yeah, I see that sometimes too, but really not really. Anyway, the whole thing with these accusers being anonymous is a tough pill to swallow. Anybody that's been falsely accused of something knows what Russell's going through right now. If this stuff if it's made up or if it's highly embellished on, so I guess what I'm saying is, so let's say hypothetically, he actually did have a relationship with this 16-year-old girl that's claiming what he did, right? Now, perhaps he did know her, had a relationship with her, and in fact, maybe he had a consensual relationship with her, right? And by the way, the age of consent in the UK is 16, so technically that would be legal. Half Tater says total theater, so you think it's Oh, you're talking about something else. Sorry. I don't know. It's hard for me to keep up with the chat if you're talking about something else. But okay. So anyway, I just think that if it were me, and I've got, what do you think, Mina? If you were assaulted like that, and you could prove it, would you not come forward?
Well,
as a woman,
according to who it was, and what was going to be done to me, because women are way different than men are, and children and everything. The thing about that is they don't want to get in trouble because they've already been. Rape is a horrible.
Just
demeanor.
Don't say that word.
It's a demeanor.
Yeah.
Type of thing to a woman.
I guess what I'm saying is do you think that it's odd that somebody would wait like 15 or 20 years to come out with the
I don't say it is odd. Once they start coming out of the woodwork, a lot of women will follow suit.
Okay.
Because they won't be alone.
Well, I guess what my position is it's kind of convenient that.
But you got those ones, that is dead set on revenge and hatred. And then of course, you got people coming out of the woodwork that's kind of kooky.
So Russell Brand.
But rape is a bad thing.
He's been. You probably don't watch much of his stuff, but he's been coming out with a lot of content for the last few years on Rumble and YouTube, which is exposing a lot of. And he's not really like he's really kind of like a truth or light. He's not really on the cutting edge of anything. He'll ask sort of pointed questions that delve into some of the more difficult to get into sort of conspiracies. And he'll hint at that sort of thing, but he never really crosses that threshold. But he does speak a lot of truth to power. He had a really popular interview with Tucker Carlson, who Tucker Carlson was recently fired from Fox, and he was also fired from the left-wing news organization MSNBC. And so he's getting a lot of people awakened to some of these contradictions in the narrative and getting people sort of riled up for the inequality and injustice that's going on. So I guess
they have dramatized it. The media has making it seem you got to understand these news people. You know how they are. They will say stuff and the people will not even know where I didn't say that. I didn't do that. They pulled stuff out of context. And of course,
well, whatever.
It's hard. He seems like he don't. It's one word against the other to me. I don't know. I don't know who the girl is. She's saying she was a young girl.
Well, so there's several of them. There's like 10 now. So here's. Yeah. So I don't know all the details, but so the thing is first of all, he's always been very upfront that he was with like 80 different women a month. So he was definitely getting around. He's admitted to being like a sex addict and basically a bad person. He was on a lot of drugs. He was out of his mind on drugs. Really, he definitely did inappropriate things. He was definitely, not a role model. But the thing is there's a big difference between not a role model and a criminal and like a serial roper. And so I guess what I'm saying is just because there's 10 of these allegations doesn't really necessarily mean anything either. Because again, so one of the women supposedly went to a rape center and did the test, and all that evidence, the DNA evidence, is frozen. It's been sitting there for 15, 20 years or whatever. Okay. Now, what I'm saying is even though that DNA evidence can be conclusive, it doesn't prove consent or not. Like, it doesn't speak to that at all.
No, and why was she there?
And the fact that it's even been sat on that long. I mean, again, I just can't imagine sitting on something like that if I had been violated in such a manner. Some of these stories are totally not believable. Like it's very hard to believe some of them. I'm not calling the victims liars by any stretch, but what I'm saying is this all very well could be a concerted effort by the deep state to basically preemptively cancel somebody who is a thorn in their side. He is uncomfortable for them, and they just want him gone. They don't want Russell Brand to be relevant. And the easiest way to do that is to cry rope. You know what I mean? I mean, that's definitely the easiest way to ruin someone's credibility. And now what YouTube has done is totally demonetized his platform. And basically the reason that they're doing it is because I guess in their terms of service, they have certain clauses to where in order to maintain your partnership account, you have to basically be like a role model material because you are in a way representing YouTube's brand. And so things that you do off platform, if they reflect badly on YouTube, they can terminate your account at any time for any reason. But again, it's kind of weird because this was 15, 20 years ago. And for a corporation to be able to retroactively, go back in time and ban you for things that may or may not have happened 15, 20 years ago, that's a scary thought. And the reason that it's scary is because, what if he's innocent? What if he didn't do any of these things and yet, there is this alleged DNA evidence that can be used to really put this man in prison for a long time if it's done right by the prosecutors. And that's very scary. But even before any sort of trial or before any of this evidence is seen or before any of the witnesses have even come in front of the camera and, said anything, I mean, they're canceling his livelihood with no trial, no judge, no jury, just basically trial by media. One thing that I've noticed also is a lot of these mainstream media sources, they're not using any of the necessary caveats to protect themselves from sort of liable suits. They're not saying alleged victims. They're not saying, potential rope. They're just coming out and accusing him without the caveats because, I mean, we've seen this sort of thing before when there's a concerted media effort to basically railroad somebody or to blackball somebody. They don't use those caveats. They just they paint a narrative. They paint a picture that they want to paint. And frankly, I think that whether he's guilty or not remains to be seen. But sort of either way, we really need to stand up and rally for Russell because, frankly, if it happens to him and we just stand by and allow it, then the next one that it's going to happen to is going to be us. Okay. And, honestly, my personal opinion, I'm not really buying that he was this sort of predator. I mean, sure, I've known a lot of sort of predators in my time, but I mean, people that, and usually it's guys who are just in the game. Like they just want to meet women, sleep with them, treat them like shit, and then leave them, and then on to the next one. And it's sort of like a game to them. And, I hate to admit it, but I was kind of in that game for a couple of years back in the early 2000s, late 90s when I was entering college. And then when I was going to college, I'll admit that I too was not exactly a good person in that regard. Like I was playing that game and I felt terrible about it. In retrospect, it was a learning experience because, I know myself better and I know that I value a cherished and quality relationship rather than many sort of just flings or whatever whatever it is.
That's just being young, John.
Right. But so, for a man in his 30s to be dating a girl who's 16, that's weird.
That's way weird.
but the thing is, it was legal in the UK. Her mother was even aware of it, from what I gather. Like, her mother was dropping her off at his place to meet him privately. And so even
She'd been dating the mother.
Well, even in the United States, there's provisions where a 16-year-old can get emancipated from their parents and considered as an adult. So, I mean, even then, there are...
British girls are a lot different. British girls carry themselves a little different than American girls. They're kind of raised to grow up and get married.
I mean, it's definitely a different culture. I mean, I don't know if I would say, people are people regardless of where they grow up. But yeah, I mean, cultures are different, sure. I'm not sure.
The era and time, too, is different.
Rosie Krupp, good morning. Stand alone could be Rajamak. Rajamak says he thinks he's a high-level Masonic warlock and spellcaster. Yeah, I mean, it could be. How much exposing of actual things that most people don't know has Russell Brand done? I think he's done a lot of good work. Is it anything that isn't already out in the sort of public sphere of knowledge? Probably not. I mean, maybe. Do I think he's a plant or a shill? I really don't think so, man. Honestly, I think that he was definitely successful in the fields that he was in. I think he probably used that to his advantage, to that game that we were just talking about. And I'm sure he hurt a lot of feelings. But, and I'm sure he did things that he's not proud of as well. But do I think that he was a serial sexual assaulter and was not concerned with consent? I don't know, man. I don't see that. I don't see him being a shill. I see him being as a successful person that has seen the error of his ways and has tried in the last few decades to change himself and be a better person and maybe even atone for some of the things that he's done. But I believe him that these allegations are false. These are women scorned who saw an opportunity and took that opportunity. And that I remain, I stand to be corrected. I mean, I just have never seen any of these accusers. I've read most of the allegations. I've read most of the reports. And I mean, a lot of the stuff is cringe, but a lot of it is very flimsy as well. I mean, it could very well be that this stuff is embellished or some of it even entirely made up. Things have been changed. I mean, look at the text conversation between one of the accusers and Russell, where there's clear evidence that the text conversation has been cut, copied, and pasted to present on, I think it was the Globe website, or whichever one, Times, I don't know. So Roger Mock says doesn't believe he's a grape or that it's theater. All the symbolism, yeah, I mean, again, tattoos that a person gets in their youth, you can't really judge their character based on that. And, I have no dog in that fight. Personally, I don't have any tattoos, so I could care less. But I also don't think we should necessarily go judging people based on their tattoos. That doesn't really prove anything one way or another. So we did talk about the physical evidence. What truth has Russell Brand told? Well, so he talks about a lot of the stuff that Bill Gates is on about, right? So he's against Bill Gates on a lot of issues, which is sort of like, obviously, right? Like a lot of the stuff that Bill Gates champions is like killing half or more of the world population. So it's not you're not exactly going out on a limb, speaking truth to Bill Gates. Yeah, again, I don't know. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I have watched a lot of his content. And in my opinion, he does expose the corruption in the system that most sort of brainwashed normies look right past. You've got people who are still caught in the Republican and Democrat false dichotomy, which is basically a mind control campaign designed to pit us, we the people, against each other based on really minor differences that are exacerbated psychologically by the mainstream. And we're busy fighting amongst ourselves while these fucking assholes are, running away with our money and bombing innocent people for the sake of conquest, oil, and, poppy fields and that sort of thing. And so when it comes to the sort of false dichotomy that is the modern political system, I think he does a good job of shedding some light on that. And, I think what's so brilliant, and I tried to emulate it, I could probably do a better job, is if you can mix comedy or humor with the points that you're making, especially if it's uncomfortable topics, that really, it can drive things a lot further, and it can get your point across a lot better if people find it humorous or funny or whatever, right? So in that respect, I think that, so like, for example, if flat Earth were to be something that he was to champion, I think that he could have done a lot with that. But now that this has happened, it'll probably never happen, right? I mean, I don't see that ever happening. D-Rex says he watches his channel. His content is on point, but controlled opposition. So you think he's controlled opposition? Yeah, I mean, so there's that potentiality too. He definitely was very successful monetarily on YouTube, and he was, putting forth information that was uncomfortable to them. But so here's my take on that controlled opposition thing, and this does sort of support that idea. So what I found when I started using Rumble was they were censoring me almost immediately. So the Transpocalypse 2023 video that I put together specifically as a Rumble exclusive, so I was considering moving over to Rumble permanently and potentially even getting away from YouTube altogether. But of course, I wanted to test the waters with Rumble first to see, how that was going to go. And so the first video that I put up on there was the Transpocalypse 2023 video. And basically, I had people within the first couple of days coming back to me saying that the link that I put on YouTube to the Rumble video would take them to a page on Rumble that said that the video was private and they couldn't watch it. So at least 2 or 3 people that I remember seeing pretty quickly after uploading it couldn't even watch it. And of course, if 2 or 3 people message you on something like that, then you can bet your ass that anywhere from 20 to 30 or 200 to 300 people had that, depending on the ratio, depending on the volume of what, how many people are clicking on it. And however, on my end, on the sort of Rumble back end, I was seeing the video as being live in public. Okay. So that right there, that was kind of weird. Furthermore, you've got to pay Rumble every month to have your content up there. And you can also have advertising, like sponsorships on your videos and earn a little money back. And I noticed my earnings just within the first week. So like after the first day or two, the earnings was like $2 or $3 or something on that one video. And I was like, $2 or $3 after a couple of days, that's actually not that bad. But then the next time I checked it, like a week later, it was down to like 12 cents or something. So I don't know if that was just a fluke or a glitch, but I learned pretty quickly that Rumble isn't exactly this free speech, non-censorship platform that, everybody seems to claim that it is. I found really quickly that it appeared like they had shadow banned me. And again, I talk about flat Earth and stuff, but that was about Transpocalypse, which is a huge deception that I think is very important. And of course, Russell Brand doesn't talk about either of those. He does put light on issues that really go to show that the governments of the world and the big corporations of the world are not looking out for our best interests. And in fact, the governments of the world and the big corporations of the world are basically interlocking, interchangeable two wings of the same beast. And so in that respect, you know, Russell Brand was doing a good job of just exposing sort of the broader skin of the beast that we're definitely dealing with. I mean, he wasn't getting down to showing you its fangs or, you know, its teeth and its claws and how its poison works. But, you know, in that sort of a simile, he was definitely on point, I think. So, yeah, Half Tater says Rumble's no different, just a subscription-based platform. Rumble is meh, mid at best, yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up. So that was another thing about these allegations. So I still have not seen the 1.5-hour documentary because I'm in the US. I do need to get a VPN. I think I can get a free 3 months with one of those. But I don't have a VPN at this point, so I can't watch the 1.5 hour. I guess it was it the Channel 4 or Times? I don't even remember which one did it. But whatever the 1.5 hour long documentary is, I would like to see it. So if anybody has a link for that where I can stream it or download it, send me an email because I would like to see it. But from what I can tell, it's behind a paywall. And if you're not in the United States, you can't watch it. I mean, if you're in the United States, you can't watch it on whatever platform it's on. It won't let me do it. And I even signed up for the stupid service that you have to sign up for to watch it, and it still wouldn't let me do it. And I just think it's kind of weird that if you're trying to expose somebody as being this criminal, serial sexual assaulter, why would you put that behind a paywall? Why would you make it hard for people to find that information? I mean, it just seems to me that like you would want that information getting out for free, right? But yeah, Rumble, definitely, in my opinion, Rumble censored me. And the fact that they're sort of white knighting for Russell during this thing is kind of suspect, in my opinion, honestly. So there is that. Like, why would they white knight for Russell but still censor flat earthers talking about transpocalypse if they are actually all about the truth and not at all about censorship as they claim? So that was kind of weird, in my opinion. And again, I'm one of these people that I would love to see YouTube be replaced by something better or something that is like what YouTube used to be like before they improved it by, you know, basically stripping it of its soul, which is what they've effectively done in the last few years with YouTube. So I'd love to see Rumble be a great platform and successful, and I'd love to post all my content on there, and it would be nice to even earn some kind of a living from AdSense revenues and sponsorships and that sort of thing. But in my brief experience with Rumble recently, all it did was cost me $20, and maybe 1,000 people saw my work. So, you know, it's just not really worth the money. Like, you've got to pay them to store content on their site. So, you know, it's not really for me. And the fact that they're white knighting for Brand is a little suspect. So it's, from what I gather, like more than half people think that this is total bull, right? So like there's little or nothing to these allegations. It's all just a coordinated, concerted effort to take down Russell Brand in the media, strip him of his platform, strip him of his voice, where he's able to influence people on a vast scale. I mean, he was outperforming most of the news networks. I mean, look at the numbers on the Tucker Carlson interview. I mean, it just blows mainstream stuff out of the water in terms of the numbers that he's putting up. So he was a big threat to them, even if he wasn't speaking the truth. Even just on a pure numbers basis, he was a threat to their bottom line. And when you couple that with the fact that he's also exposing things that they don't really want exposed because it makes them uncomfortable for whatever reasons, it does make a lot of sense to hypothesize that these motherfuckers took him down, and they're not just shooting in the dark, right? They're not stupid, so they're not just going to make allegations that have no sort of possibility or plausibility or basis in reality. And so these sorts of entities will dig through a person's past, figure out, what is the most potentially successful vector of attack that we can use, and they'll use it. And of course, if Russell was not exactly a role model when it came to things like chastity and that sort of thing, of course, that would be the vector that they would use. And what would it look like if they did something like that? Well, what it would look like is it would look like exactly what we've got. You would have anonymous, faceless accusers. You would have stories that don't really add up, which I mentioned in the last video, but I'm sorry. Like, one example is there's no such thing as mouth rope, right? If someone is roping you orally, you don't need to think very hard of ways to get that person to stop. I mean, there is one very quick, swift, biting solution that you could use potentially to get that person off of you. So you would expect, if this was a concerted effort just to take him down, you would expect those things. You would expect the stories not to make much sense. You would expect it to come out decades after the fact, maybe right before a US election, so that maximum possible effect can come of it. You'd expect it to look just like what we've got. You would expect the entities like YouTube to preemptively strip him of his voice and his ability to even have a word in the public sort of trial by media that we've got. And
right there, trial by media.
Yeah, that is what it is. And so, I don't think it's that far of a stretch to say that, while he may have not been a perfect role model, over the last few decades, I don't think we can necessarily retroactively call him a criminal for that, or a potential criminal, and then strip away the man's livelihood. Now, I'm sure Russell Brand's going to be just fine. I mean, dude, I'm certain he's got plenty of money, so it's not like he's going to wonder where his next meal is coming from. But we do still have this sort of potentiality that even if he's innocent, they could potentially press criminal charges on him, because allegedly they do have this physical evidence at the Rope Crisis Center where one of the victims or alleged victims went to. So there is that. It would be, well, let me say it this way. We definitely know that there are covens or cabals or satanic groups that act in secret, and they have sworn certain oaths to their brotherhood that can put together concerted, coordinated attacks against individuals. I mean, that sort of thing definitely can happen. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of them are trannies, honestly. I wouldn't be surprised. So let's see here. Legal age of consent is 16. So recently he has been exposing certain elements of the cabal, although sort of truth light. And I was really sort of expecting, like, any day now he's going to come out and tell all of his millions of followers and subscribers that, to look into flat Earth. I was kind of expecting that any day, and then this happened. So, I mean, I'm not going to.
Before him, it was a couple other people too. Nothing really came of the Ryan Reynolds thing. Yeah, they tried to get Ryan Reynolds, saying back when he was young, I think he was like in college or something, that they was going to get him on this. He did a few things that was supposedly inappropriate to some girls. And there were basically the media was slamming him. And then all of a sudden, you didn't really hear from anything anymore from any of that, because he actually got big. He got some big name movies, and he made a lot of money on that Mint Mobile.
Yeah.
And I'm talking hundreds of billions of dollars on Mint Mobile, not millions, but billions.
So Brian Hawk says, who wouldn't try Neuralink? I damn sure wouldn't. It's like, isn't Neuralink where you have implants in your brains communicating with computers, or is it wirelessly now? I think they're doing it wirelessly. I might do it wirelessly, but I don't even know about that. But I'm definitely.
What's that stuff I'm telling you, John?
I'm definitely not having physical hardware implanted in my brain.
They can read your mind now by the colors you choose.
Yeah. Rune Dragon says, been saying that all his life, and at the time didn't really know why. Okay, out of context, sorry. Yeah, I wouldn't try Neuralink.
I don't know. I don't want to be linked up to nothing.
Yeah, so another thing a lot of people are saying is humiliation ritual, like not in the comments here, but so like the Freemasons and these different secret societies have what are called humiliation rituals, which is sort of so I've heard it said either a couple of ways. So the way that I understood it was, in order to get beyond a certain level with these sort of Freemasonic secret societies, Illuminatis, if you will, was to go through a sort of humiliation ritual, and that was sort of a rite of passage. Now, there's others who seem to say that these humiliation rituals are if you want to get out, right? So like if you want to get out of the secret society, then you have to go through a humiliation ritual. I don't think that's true. I think that pretty much you're in it for life. There is no getting out. And if he was involved in one of these sort of secret societies or Illuminati, which is very possible, right? Because in order to get as far as he did in the mainstream, you have to swear certain allegiances to this cabal. I mean, I would stake a lot of money on that. Like, I truly do believe that. Now, does that mean he was necessarily involved in that sort of thing? Yeah, I mean, that's what it means.
Have they arrested him yet?
But if he was trying to get out of that, or if he was not towing the line, then we would expect to see exactly what we're seeing right now. No, he hasn't been arrested. There haven't even been any legal charges filed against him, as far as I know, at this point in time.
Sounds like a puff piece to me.
Martha Stewart went to prison, now is on the cover of Sports Illustrated in swimsuit. Yeah, so didn't Martha Stewart go to prison for, it was some kind of blue collar crime, I know, but wasn't it insider trading or something like that? Yeah. And I just don't see Martha Stewart as like a financial wizard or like a criminal financial wizard. I mean, clearly she had people working for her that she would have paid to do those sorts of things. I don't know.
She was rich.
In my opinion, Martha Stewart is another one of these MTFs, if you know what I mean. She was tight with Snoop. Yeah, another one. Well, that Paula Deen, in my opinion, is another one of these MTFs.
There was somebody who was supposedly in prison with Martha Stewart that got recently released before Martha Stewart was. She was in the celebrity limelight of some kind.
Yeah.
Who was that?
Snoop's in the club. Yeah. So like all of these different celebrities, when you get to that certain level, you have to be in that coven. And if this coven has been telling, Russell to cut it out, to stop doing what he's doing, and he's doing it anyway, then maybe what we're seeing is them severing his connection. Or like y'all just said, maybe he's up for promotion. Secret gender inverts everywhere. Yeah. So like Mina here has been on this Gilligan's Island kick, right? And wow. So like Ginger for sure. And then Mrs. Howe too. Oh my goodness. Like super obvious ones there. Like Mrs. Howe, very obvious to me. MTF, a TG. And remember, you know, they synthesized, according to mainstream narrative history, they synthesized estrogen, I want to say in like the 1930s. And they've been doing these sort of gender inversions for as long as history has been around, right? In pretty much every country. And, you know, synthesizing estrogen isn't necessarily the only way for a person to do sort of hormone replacement therapy, especially if, unfortunately to say, blood drinking is involved. And we also know that these crazy motherfuckers are into that too. Even if it's just in the sense of adrenochrome, where they are literally like terrifying and sacrificing people in order to get that adrenochrome sort of nectar out of the blood. You've got that. But it could go further as far as we're concerned. You know, they could be getting sort of opposite sex hormones from the blood of their sacrifices. I mean, this is just crazy things to talk about. And of course, no, you would never hear Russell Brand come out and say that sort of thing, but I bet you could find instances where he hinted at it. You know what I mean? So, I mean, we do have to be careful with what we say, especially if you've got a very successful platform. You don't want to say things that are going to get you necessarily into lawsuits for slander and that sort of thing. But at some point, I think you have to stop tiptoeing through the tulips and just come out and say exactly what you mean, right?
Well, back when Gilligan's Island was on, that was a well-kept secret. And people weren't looking for it as long as it was a well-kept secret.
Yeah, and I mean, to think, I remember even, you know, when I was a kid, it was way before my time, but they played reruns of Gilligan's Island on like Comedy Central or whatever in the mornings. I would catch that every day. And sure, I crushed on Ginger. Never would have suspected Mrs. Howe, but, you know, now in retrospect, it's super obvious. But interestingly, can you believe as many episodes of Gilligan's Island as there are, that they shot all those within 3 years? So there's, I looked it up, there's 99 episodes of Gilligan's Island total, and they were all shot within 3 years. I seem to think that show had run for decades and maybe they shot for over 10 years, but no, it was a very short-lived sort of series. But man, there's a lot of episodes, and I guess they did 33 per year, if you can believe it. Yeah, it didn't last real long, but God, they've got a lot of episodes. 33 in a year, right? I mean, that is kind of a lot.
Well, they did bring some back when they were putting it back on the air and do some.
Yeah, they rerun them, but...
No, they did it for like 2 more years, and then they just took it off the air.
Well, I mean,
Ginger wouldn't come back.
I just read recently that all of the Gilligan's Island's episodes were shot within 3 years, and there was 99
Something
of them.
pissed her off, and she never would come back and do the specials or nothing. Somebody really ticked her ass off.
Well, the thing is,
closed door things.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you're dealing with secret transgenders, especially back in that day, you're going to expect tumult. You're going to expect scandals. You're going to expect not to see people anymore, just because of the way, just the politics of it. And then sometimes people, you know, these trannies start to look really strange because of the hormone replacement and the surgeries and things like that.
Ginger's the only one still living.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she is it.
Ginger's still living? Oh, does she look like a lionfish?
No.
Oh, really?
No, and she's got a son that's a talk radio host.
I got to see this.
Look him up.
Yeah,
Hey,
well, I mean, I can't do it on here, but...
Here, I'll show you. I'll look it up right now.
Okay,
he's an actor, too. Y'all
whatever.
gonna freak out. I don't know if it's a girl. It's got one of those names. But it looks like a girl.
Well, it's like, look at Cher's
I don't mean
daughter.
that. I said that wrong. She looks like a girl.
Okay. Now, first of all, I just sort of need to say the caveat, like, I don't really personally have anything against trannies. I really don't. Like, to each his own is what I say. Like, I think it's weird, but like, I'm not gonna do anything to a tranny. I'm not gonna try to stop them. I might, look at them sideways because it's weird, but that's just my opinion. You know what I mean? But I don't have any hate for trannies, not at all. But when it comes to people deceiving other people about something as base as, their gender, that's weird. And I just, it's the whole lying and secretive part and deceiving part that I have a real hard time getting.
She married one person during the show and had one daughter, and her name is Caprice Crane. Here it is. I'm going to show you.
Well, hand me the phone.
Here you go. Here. What's up? It's up there.
Oh, yeah. It probably won't show up.
Read her byline under there. That way they can look her up. Her name is Caprice Crane.
Yeah, so.
Read the byline. No, read the byline.
No, I'm good.
Here, let me read it right quick.
No, you're good. It's good. It's good. You're good.
Okay. It was from when she was 1966 to 1974. Tina Louise. She married a radio and talk and a TV announcer. And she had one daughter, Caprice Crane, born in 1970. She is an MTV producer.
Yeah, so Stand Alone says, I remember I thought he was dodgy, but then he warmed up to him after he pivoted to putting out more truthful information. Yeah, I agree. Like, I was never a real big fan of Russell Brand, honestly. Like, I was sort of with a lot of you guys where I thought, okay, he's a new agey sort of Illuminati puppet type. But then I read his book while I was in jail, Freedom from Our Addictions, which was a great book. And I sort of had a change of heart about him, and I did start watching his content, and I think he's done a lot of good work. Like, I really do. Now, agreed, he doesn't really cross too many thresholds. Like, he's not exactly the tip of the spear, but he does have a lot of good points. He's got humor in his delivery, so I do respect and admire a lot of that about him, which is why it's going to be such a shame and a heartbreak to me personally if it turns out that he's actually some sort of a crazed serial sexual assaulter as they're trying to paint him to be. I just don't see it. Like, I see it as, again, he certainly wasn't a nice person. He certainly wasn't a role model. He probably did some things that he wasn't very proud of. But at the same time, I don't think it's right that we should totally strip a person of their livelihood prior to any sort of actual inquiry into it. I think it's preemptive, and I think it sets a very dangerous precedent to where if we just stand by and allow that sort of thing to happen without at least voicing our disdain, then we're basically giving our consent to let them roll over us next. And if you've never been wrongly accused or wrongly imprisoned for something that you didn't do, I can promise you from firsthand experience, it is the worst feeling you'll ever have hold on a minute, to sit in a jail cell for extended periods of time for something that you didn't actually do. That is hell. Yeah, go ahead.
Now, Caprice is supposedly a girl because her book that she came out with is called Stupid and Contagious. It says she was heaven sent, but he refused the package.
Okay, yeah.
Do you get it?
I reckon.
I think it's a transgender book. She was born a dude, but he.
Who are we talking about again?
Ginger Grant's son,
right.
daughter.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I mean, so this is the thing about these secret Illuminati trannies. Okay, they're victims. Okay, they're definitely victims. A lot of these people, man, it has been put on them since they were just little kids. Okay, they have been.
She could have been adopted, you know.
Well, they give these innocent children operations to change their apparent orientation. And to me, that's like just that. I mean, short of, honestly, I think that's worse than just murdering a kid and, you know, offering him up onto the bail thing or whatever. I think it's worse because they have to live an entire life like that with no choice in the matter.
Yeah, it's
so again, I don't see them as an enemy at all. I see them as victims. But the thing is the mass media has used this sort of role reversal, really deep rooted mind control program, predictive programming en masse to really get inside the heads of everyday normal people, the world, or at least the country over. And it's insidious, man. Like it is definitely fucking with people's heads at a core level. And I see most of them as victims, especially the ones that are in like generational satanic ritual abuse families. They're definitely victims. And then the people in the public who are subjected to the sort of mind fuckaroony that is the mainstream media are also victims. And so by pointing out things like Paula Deen being born as a man and Ginger from Gilligan's Island and her daughter being born as the opposite sex, you know, I'm not attacking these people. I'm just pointing out, in my opinion, that is what it is. And so wake up to it, right? Because I just see, you know, it causes a lot of problems with women with body issues, right? Because I mean, we've talked about it before. When you see these supermodels like Cindy Crawford with, you know, unbelievable bodies that women strive for but can never seem to attain, it's because you're never going to attain that. It's not attainable. It is illogical. It is something that, again, it causes deep, deep problems. Women are led to food disorders, bulimia, dyslexia, and even sometimes suicide because of these body issues. I mean, as crazy as it sounds, I mean, people are going to have problems, right? And if you grow up in a situation where you don't have any actual problems, like carefree life, people tend to invent problems because for whatever reason, without a struggle, it's like we're not happy unless we're struggling through something, right?
Look at the clothes that women have had to wear throughout centuries. Fake butts. You got to tie this thing under your dress to make your butt look big. Corsets to make your waist look small. And to give you cleavage. And it's just been something or other all through the centuries. Now, in this workout world we live in, we're just really not built that kind of way to be, you know, muscles. Women are not, you know, we're not made with them kind of muscles, you know?
It's kind of weird because you're like off camera. You should be sitting over here.
I don't like being on camera.
No, you're good. It's just weird because people can't see you, and so like they think I'm talking out of the side of my head or something. It's not. I'm not talking out of the side of my head.
Actually, I got him held up with my hand up his back, and I'm.
Yeah. Anyway, first world problems. Exactly, half tater.
I don't think I can be a star or a celebrity or whatever comes with it. I can't do it. I don't think I can do it.
But it's.
I like the truth too much. I really do.
The transpocalypse is really far more pervasive than people think. And I know it sounds crazy, but when I was first introduced to this particular topic of transpocalypse, like I thought it was pretty stupid. I mean, yeah, there are some trannies out there, some secret trannies out there, but it's not all that pervasive. It's like, you know, maybe 1% is what I originally thought. But now that I've been looking into it for quite a while and finding example after example after example, like it is absolutely rampant. And again, I'm not considering these people as enemies because of what they do, The only point that I really truly have a problem with is the fact that they're lying to everyone, and they're being used themselves as sort of as a weapon in this long game that the elites have been playing with our fucking minds, really just to keep everybody in a state of confusion about every possible detail that they can. So the confusion obviously starts with the very ground that they walk upon, right? So like if you are confounded in your very core beliefs about the place that you live and the person that you are, you can be pretty much led by the nose anywhere by very bright and manipulative people who have the most powerful mind control device at their fingertips, which is, of course, the television screen and the internet, the mass media outlets. And so it is very important that we, the people, have a voice and have the ability to express our views and have the ability to
There's a lot of transgender people out there that just want to have a family and to be left alone. But there's evil in everything. There's evil in every single thing. So we have to give respect on where it's due. And it's like, to the people that are gay and they got families and they want to be left alone, here's to you. Transgenders, here's to you. I got great respect for all that. It's hard enough to keep your family life behind closed doors or in the closet or wherever it may be. It's the media that's twisting everything. And once again, they're trying to sweep things over in the corners, the media is. That way people hate. And the thing about it is just don't hate about what the media is telling you. Because if you do, I tell you, you'll be doing it wrong.
Yeah, D-Rec, Cosby is definitely walking around. Cosby, his conviction was overturned and he's a free man because the prosecuting attorney prosecuted him on a case that he was granted immunity for, and so
he's got a black book they've been trying to get him. He was
set free. Yeah, Cosby's a free man. Now, I guess one of the final things that I'll say about the whole Russell Brand situation is just because there's, I guess, like 10 accusers at this point, it really doesn't necessarily mean anything, especially when we can't look them in the eye. We can't read their body language. This has been over a decade ago, so like that raises a lot of questions. Why didn't they come forward? There's a lot fishy about it.
Yeah.
Now, Russell.
That's hard to juggle 10 women.
Russell Brand, I guess, is not going to be doing much on YouTube because it is demonetized, but he did put out a video on Rumble just very recently. So the first one he's made since right before these allegations came out, that he's going to be doing business as usual come Monday. So like this Monday, the 25th of September or whatever. So we'll see what happens with that. Definitely, y'all keep Russell in your prayers because
this has been going on, guys, for a long time. I tell you, you know what they did to Cat Williams. Remember that, and that's back where they completely destroyed almost him. Where they destroyed his career at one time, just about it, because he said something about the Hollywood parties, and so. Look back in Russell's early days of a few years ago or whatever, or 10 years ago, see who he pissed off.
Yeah.
You heard what his ex-wife had to say, Katy Perry.
I don't know.
The media come over and asked her something about him. She said, listen, I know all about my husband.
I'm wrapping it up.
But I know all about my husband, and I'm keeping something in a safe for a rainy day.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Well, I mean, maybe she should have come out with that already.
She might be talking about the media or whatever.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I just wanted to get my 2 cents in there because, again, it's going to be you and I next. I mean, and we've all, like on the flat Earth side of this, we've already been through a lot of this shadow banning and censorship and stuff. But to completely cancel somebody and deem them a criminal without any sort of due process is a scary thing indeed.
Yeah, it is.
So let's try to keep our heads screwed on us properly. And, just weigh all things for yourself. Don't let people, don't even really listen to me. I'm just putting my 2 cents out there and sharing with you what I've followed so far with the story and where I'm at with it. I'm all for, there's very few things that I believe people should go to prison for. And definitely violent sexual assault is one of those things. So I've got no love for chomos and that sort of predators and those sorts, none at all. But at the same time, you can't just deem somebody guilty because of allegations that we haven't even seen any real evidence for yet. And there's just so much wrong with it. There's so many fishy things about it. And really, I'm just curious to know how many of these women are trannies. So we'll see. All right, y'all. Love you. See you soon. Oh, and don't forget, if you want to support the channel, PayPal, Patreon, Cash App, Venmo. Big thanks to David H., Jeremy B., Sean W., Adnan K., Woody W., Tim O., Lance, and Chowdhury. Thank you guys very much. Love you all. And we'll see you in the next one. More good flat earth and other hot potatoes coming soon. All right, y'all. Peace out.